lets it. Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on the Supernatural Show, the show that is not for entertainment purposes only. We're here to learn, we are here to share, we are here to hear from you because this is the People's Channel, the People's Show, where you can join us, you can be here with us, you can tell us your opinion, you can tell us we're wrong, we can agree, we can disagree. We just don't fight and act like donkeys. We actually already have a open panel guest that popped in even before we were live, which y'all guys are welcome to do. Once you see the show pop up and it says that we're going live, and you see that it says open panel, you can look below the video, depending on what platform you're on. Like on YouTube, it says more down there, and you click on that, and you'll see all my links and all details at the top. There will be a link there that says open panel invite. And everyone's welcome to join. And what we try to do here is we were really trying to meet a lot of new people. Okay. So, and we want to try to give everybody a chance to talk that wants to talk. And you're kind of expected to talk some, at least, if you're going to come on the open panel. It's not just a hang out and take up a spot on the screen kind of show. But it doesn't mean that as soon as you get here, we're going to pressure you to talk either. You can hang out for a while. You can get comfortable and talk when you feel like there's a spot that you want to talk about. We are going to be talking about some things today that I am not necessarily promoting in any way or encouraging anyone to try to do necessarily. What we're doing is we're exploring the supernatural. The supernatural world exists within us as well as without us or outside us. And so we, on each show, we'll probably be discussing different topics. Sometimes it'll be maybe the same topic because we just feel like we got more to talk about, or give y'all guys another chance to come on and talk about it. Because a lot of these things, they're important to me, obviously. I created the Supernatural Show. But the biggest thing you got to understand is this is the People's Show, and we want y'all guys to come on here. There's no one here that is going to attack anyone. There's no one here that's going to call you an idiot. Even if you sound completely nutcase crazy, you're not going to be abused, okay? Even if you think you're going to sound nutcase crazy, you're not going to be abused. I don't allow it, and if someone was to do that, they would get banned. And I just lost my chat over here. Let me see if I can fix that real quick, guys. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Give me just a moment here. Let's try that again. And we just want, it's been our entire lives and our parents' lives and our grandparents' lives where we have, none of us have had the ability to be able to speak out and to, because one, fear, because being afraid that we're going to be ridiculed, which that does not take place here. And we haven't had the ability to be able to speak out. But we do now. And so I have this platform where it allows y'all guys to have a platform, allows y'all guys to have an instant audience of everyone that's here live. And so I have this platform where not just on YouTube, but we're live on 8 platforms. We're live on 2 Facebook pages, 2 YouTube channels, Instagram, DLive, Rumble, and Kick.com. So we're live on 8 platforms. All platforms, unfortunately, are not set up so that the comments can come in and so that I can show your comments and answer your questions. But like if you're out there on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, and maybe Rumble, I'm not sure if they got it straight yet, I'll be able to see your comments when you make them in the live chat, okay? If you do it under the video after it's over with, obviously you won't be able to hear from you. But let's get into talking about some of these matters. And a lot of these subject matters are going to be tied into a lot of other subject matters. And there's nothing wrong with going somewhere else if it's a rabbit hole off of the rabbit hole kind of thing. And if there's something that you just really want to talk about, we'll even give you some time just to talk about what you want to. Understand that we are on YouTube as well as other platforms, but we try to code certain words, just say it a different way. Like I say, for instance, plan demonic. I think most of us would know the plan demonic that happened about 4 years ago that was rolled out upon us and traumatized the crap out of almost the entire population. So just code your words so that way, protect the channel. Help me protect the channel, because if someone was to start using too many of the words, I'll first ask to correct them. But if they didn't listen, then they got to go. Might get the gong. So yeah, let me first off look in the chat and see who all is in here already. We got a lot of people in the chat already. Holy smokes! Yeah.
Yeah, we got a good crowd in here today. Hey, everybody.
Yep, Roxy's here with us, and we also have Gio. Like I said, Gio was happened to get here even before we went live, which y'all guys are welcome to do. Just as soon as you see it, say we're going live. Look if it's an open panel, and you can jump right in here.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, Mike.
And we got Casey in the chat. I see Casey in here quite often. Yes. What's an outer body experience? I thought astral projection was the same thing. Well, that's a good question. Are they the same thing, or are they different? That's what we're doing here, is trying to explore these matters, see if we can learn from each other, because I don't have all the pieces to the puzzle. Roxy doesn't have all the pieces to the puzzle.
No, but I'm digging, I'm finding, I'm trying.
It's all a giant defragmentation process, and it's a group effort.
Yep, exactly. And a lot of these subject matters, we'll be able to find something closer to the truth, or maybe even find directly the truth together, because by ourselves, one individual, is just really difficult. But the mind power of hundreds of thousands of people can do some amazing things. So y'all guys are the people you're here on the People Show. This is a team effort in order to try to explore these subject matters. So with that being said, let's
Welcome, Jacob 777 is new.
Who's Jacob 777 is new. That's awesome.
Welcome.
We like having new people. Matter of fact, the only way we're going to get new people mostly is if y'all guys share this video. So if you would do that, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you for being here, Rage Against the Machine, as a moderator for the show. Thank you, and I appreciate you being here quite often and helping us out. So thank you very much. Also, thank you, Mike Smith, for being here once again, being a moderator for the show, helping us out. You don't realize it, but it does help us out a lot. And because it's hard to keep an eye on everything, there's no way I could to keep an eye on everything, because we want everybody to have a good experience. Kathy says, anybody have dreams where you were falling? Oh yeah, I've had the sensation of falling in the bed, go to reach and grab and knock everybody in the bed out with me, or have dreams of falling. Yeah, I've had that kind of thing. And you wake up before you hit the ground. Yeah, it seems to be the kind of a pattern there, doesn't it? Yeah, indeed. So,
I've actually had a number of them where I actually landed as well. That was interesting.
Oh yeah, well,
either I would land and would feel the impact and wake up with a sudden, like I had just like hit and my lungs had just lost all the air, or I would continue dreaming because for some reason I would bounce. Especially if I was in a vehicle that went off of a bridge or something, I literally falling 200 feet, and then all of a sudden I land and I'm bouncing. I'm like, oh, good, I'm okay. And then I wake up.
Right. It's weird where our dreams can take us. And I've always wondered, why we dream, why we have these crazy experiences. That
I have a theory on that. And then it's the mind's way of performing a sort of minor defragmentation from the waking hours in between. Just like a computer would to clear its cache files, get everything back in order. And that just seems to be the process.
That's been my thought. I thought it was like the brain's filing system to put everything into the filing cabinet where it needed to go tonight.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, more or less.
Yeah, sorting out all the random stuff in your brain.
I dream about sometimes things that shouldn't be in my filing cabinet. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Well, that's not to say. Okay, like with the sleep paralysis, for example, a lot of people will say it's scientific because when we're falling asleep, there's a chemical released in our brainstem that causes us to be paralyzed so we don't enact our dreams and get ourselves injured. There's others that will argue it's demonic attack. I would say it's likely both, considering that it's demonic forces taking use of an already present function and causing a glitch in it so they can make use of that.
Yeah, and I've also wondered, I had some experience one time where I had a Wi-Fi in the room I was staying in. It was like a studio type condo thing in an old hotel, and I was living there. And I had Wi-Fi in there, and I was having these sleep paralysis, and I was being attacked. It was happening over and over and over. Where I should have told this story in the video I did the other day. But anyways, I was being attacked over and over and over. But if I would go unplug the Wi-Fi, it would go away.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder.
It's made use of technology since the day of its inception.
Say that again.
The enemy has seemingly made use of technology as one of its major tools since the day of its very inception.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's not to say that all technology is evil, but it's more easily utilized than, say, those with a soul.
If you think about it, think about what they're doing right now with trying to convert our double-stranded DNA to triple-stranded DNA. I've seen some evidence that shows they're trying to do that. I mean, one piece of symbolic evidence was when the Queen, when she was still alive, I guess, they did this big ceremony where they lit this like Christmas tree, and they showed this triple stranded DNA running out in front of it, going to the Christmas tree, and then the tree lit up. So you have to figure out the symbology of what they're showing there. Also, in the video that many of y'all guys have seen called I Pick Goat, there's some scenes in there, and I've actually got it up. I could show it if I want to. I just won't play it because it'll demonetize this video. And I like getting a couple nickels every now and then. But we could look at the images of it. But they show, clearly they're showing that I think it's pretty clear that the big thing right now is about the altering of the DNA, the code within the body.
Yeah.
I mean, because they've told us straight out, mRNA, that
brings to mind something that has been on mind heavily every time I hear this topic brought up and think about it is, being a Christian, it is written that we are not to add or remove any words from the book of life. And what is DNA but the collective book of life of our entire species, our history, our cultures, everything collective to the point of now.
Yeah, and goes all the way back through all your bloodline, everything is all now within you here. All that history is there.
Yes.
Good and bad. But now they want to, what they're trying to do is figure out how to live forever, right? It's apparent that that's part of what they're doing.
Right.
So, to do that, they've got to put, I've often wondered if they're trying to put man and woman back together again.
That's the whole concept of Baphomet.
Is it? Okay. Like they took the Twin Towers, for instance, they went poof, they came down, and then they put it back up as one, twisted together, just like DNA being twisted. Because many things throughout nature, and most of the most powerful things in nature and in the world that they study in order to build technology is like your toroidal field, the twisting nature of the spin.
A lot of this goes and ties into Freemasonry and their study and worship of essentially geometry.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, big time. Like their logo, like if you look at their logo, let me pull it up here for a second.
Yeah. Or even if you go to Washington, D.C. on Google Earth and you zoom in and you look, everything is laid out and you can see there's occult symbols everywhere, even in the road layouts.
Yep, absolutely.
Giant seal put upon the area for some reason.
And they have right there at the Washington Monument, they have the Vesica Pisces, which is the shape of the vagina. Okay, they have that Vesica Pisces, and they have the
monolith,
phallic symbol sticking through it out of the earth. Right, it's kind of like saying that in that symbolism, like the earth is the mother, and then that the phallic symbol sticking up through it, and it's about creation. And one of the things, this isn't like the ultimate answer because we're exploring it. It's like creation. Very multiple layer. I remember. Let me see if I can find a proper image to show you here, which they all pretty much are proper enough. Let me share my screen here real quick. So like when you look at this image, oops, I guess I got to edit to the stage. There we go. When you see these images, it's the compass and the square, right?
Yep.
But it also is symbolically, because a huge part of their symbolism is about sex. Okay. It's about the G, generative. Okay. Many people wonder if it's G meaning God. It means generative. It means Genesis.
Grand architect of the universe as well, which is not the creator. The architect doesn't create. He just takes what's already there and puts it into form.
Right.
And that's who they worship. And that's not God.
Yeah. So if you look at, let's just pick any one of these symbols, I guess. Let me see if I add in male, female. And of course, we're in one of those side tunnels off of the main subject area, but that's okay.
Yep. It's all fractal.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the entire world is all fractal.
I'm well built for that, so no bother here.
Like the DNA, the spin of the DNA, the spin of the tornado, the spin of the hurricane, the spin of the
tree of life,
the spin of, yeah, exactly. And it's symbolic right into exactly the tree, because the tree, the way a tree grows, is all fractal. And of course, it's a toroidal as well. And understanding these things will lead you to being able to
highly reflective. If you look at the way the leaves bring in light while the roots suck in nutrients from the dirt in the dark.
Say that again.
It's highly reflective in that the leaves bring in the food from the light while the roots suck in the food from the dark.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one before. That's very interesting.
I got a giant tree of life wall hanging on me or on my wall in front of me right now. I'm looking at it, and that just popped in my head.
Yeah,
I'm big on that symbolism.
We can use this one, but I was hoping to find one that really demonstrated it a little bit better, but so it doesn't sound so crazy. But
I want the dollar bill interesting too.
You got the square, and you got the compass. And this is the square of the male body is built off of more of squares. It's more angles.
Yep.
And of course, the female body is the curves, you know,
rounded and curved.
And so here we have the devices that represent those things, and you have what looks like the male and the female coming together with the G in the middle of the generative force. And so I've theorized that this is also a male and a female copulating, having sex, whatever you want to call it. Okay.
It does seem accurate.
Yeah. And then, you know, you start looking at, like you said, like DC, and they've obviously got something that looks like a vagina there, and they obviously got something that looks is symbolism for a phallic. And it's
using the Masonic pine cone symbolism as well.
The pine cone symbolism, yeah.
There's a place downtown here in Scranton called the Scranton Cultural Center. It used to be it was Masonic Temple of the Scottish Rite, I believe. And you walk in and you look up at the ceiling, and knowing alarms. Sorry. You look up at the ceiling, and the ceiling is literally adorned with golden pine cones in the middle of each square on the ceiling. And, you know, in Masonic symbolism, typically the ceiling represents the divine, while the many cases a chessboard on the floor represents the mundane and how they're reflective of one another. And in this case, you got a pineal gland on the ceiling everywhere, golden encrusted.
Yep.
There it is.
Yeah, and of course there's one in front of the Vatican with two bird symbolism on each side, which is...
See, the interesting difference is that one's pointing upward, while the ones in the Masonic Temple are on the top pointing downward.
What do you think that means?
I think that might be more, one is acknowledging God is above man rather than man is above God.
Okay, yeah, that could be. Very much could be. So, let's see here. This might be some of what we're talking about here, but how does some of this tie into any of the topic matter that we're talking about, like the astral projection, the out of body? I've experienced and a lot of times what I would call outer body, which is where I'm fully awake, and I wake up kind of like a sleep paralysis. But instead of getting afraid, I learned that all these times this happened, I never end up getting hurt. So why am I being afraid? So I decided to be not afraid, and that allowed me.
You get acclimated to it after so many experiences, I've come to find.
Yeah, you've had a bunch of them?
Oh, absolutely. I've had some very interesting ones recently. I actually brought this up in the chat yesterday. Excuse me. Frog in my throat. Second to last experience I had, I was completely lucid, and I was in some strange spiritual realm, surrounded by that. It looked like something out of the Dark Crystal from like Jim Henson. It was like just all these dark, black, purplish crystals everywhere, and there's these black entities all surrounding me. And for some reason or another, all of a sudden, something in me shifted, and lightning words came out. I could not describe them. Lightning and fire came out of my mouth. These things started cracking, and all of a sudden, my roommate's shaking me awake, going, "Are you okay?" And I looked at him, and I opened my eyes, like, "Why did you do that? I almost had them." That was a very unique experience.
Wow. Okay. I want to listen a little closer. Back up and tell me that again.
I was in a sleep paralysis event, which shifted into the astral realm, and surrounded by dark entities, shadow beings of some kind or another.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, something shifted within me, and words began coming out of my mouth, which I could not repeat to this day, nor even try to imitate in how they sounded, that were basically lightning and fire, and these things started to crack around me. And at that point, my roommate came into the room and shook me awake, asking me if I was okay. I sounded like I was, having some sort of problem. And I opened my eyes and looked at him and said, "Why did you do that? I almost had them."
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it sounds completely like insane, but yet we know it's not.
Absolutely.
There's
reality. Because aside from that one, I've had plenty prior to that where, I have this black, like, there was an episode of Family Guy called Stewie's Nightmare, and there's this demon thing chasing Stewie and Brian throughout the nightmare realm. And years before that episode came out, my first sleep paralysis experiences, probably in around 2003, somewhere in that era, involved something that looked exactly like that thing, even though that thing wasn't even thought of until years later. Wow. And I mean exact in that it was a squat black thing with little horns and these glowing green eyes. Another experience I had after that was for 13 hours straight, I kept having multiple sleep paralysis attacks, and I was just bombarded with imagery of viewings of the crucifixion and such. That was bizarre. Another time I had multiple false awakenings where every time I would wake up, half of my body would be vibrating and under some sort of attack where I thought I was having a stroke, and I would try to get to my mother's bedroom, and I would get there very difficultly, knock on her door, and as soon as I did that, I'd wake up and I'd be like right back where I started. And that happened 3 times in a row under attack, I would say, the one night until I finally broke out of it, and that was a relief, but that was pretty intense.
Yeah, I used to try to go to, when it first started happening to me when I was 4, the sleep paralysis part. It was happening to me when I was 4 years old, and it was terrifying me. Waking up paralyzed is kind of a terrifying feeling. Yeah. And I would struggle and fight, and I would make my way visually, what seemed like visually, down the hallway to my mother's room, and I'd get almost to the door, and every time I'd snap back, be right back in the bed, knowing I'm back in the bed. And I'm still terrified. I'm only 4 years old. And then I would try to fight out again and get back to Mama, because she had just moved me in there to sleep actually with my older brother, but I wasn't with Mama no more. And it was kind of like a traumatic thing for me. And it seems like trauma can sometimes bring, being uncomfortable or some kind of trauma sometimes will bring these things on. It don't mean it's always trauma, I don't guess.
No, I can absolutely agree on that. I literally survived an abortion to be here, and then I was present for a brutal family murder at 6 weeks old. So I can definitely attest to that acting as a gateway or a doorway. I mean, even some of the popular exorcists and whatnot speak on YouTube bring that up as acting as a doorway for attacks potentially. I mean, even something in your genetic line that happened before you were even born can still in such act as a gateway in terms of that, it seems.
My mind's spinning 1,000 miles an hour. I apologize if I kind of was on that a bit. Have you ever seen me show this before?
No. What is that?
Do you know what it is? I'm constantly fascinated with it and other parts of the body. This is It's called the ethmoid bone, which I relate to the word ethics. And it sits right between your eyes. Like if in our eyes, it sits directly between the eyes, and it faces away from us. So if it was in your head, you would just reach out and grab this, and it fits literally right in the.
Like right above the sinus, like where the sinuses go through.
Yeah, the sinuses actually. Let me spin around this way.
Yeah.
If you, whoops, that was a little crazy. Let me back it away a little bit. Okay. All right, quit doing that. If you take the cotton swab and you stick it up the nose, all the way up, where you're going to end up at is right up in these cavities right here.
Okay.
On both sides. So literally you could stick that cotton swab all the way up through here and end up brushing against the bottom of these ports. Those ports are little holes that go directly into the brain.
Oh.
The brain nerves actually stick through those ports. It's the brain's
the olfactory. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the brain's actual connection with these nerves that stick through here to the outside world through your sinus cavities. The Egyptians used to take a stick or a reed that had a hole in the middle, and it was like a strong reed. They would stick up through the sinuses and knock these ports out. They would damage these ports. And what it would do is it would turn the person into a compliant slave.
I've heard that trepanation can do the same thing.
That what can?
Trepanation, but this sounds more like they were going for a lobotomy, even potentially.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
With trepanation, people want to get a hole drilled in their head for relief of chronic migraines and whatnot. It's an ancient practice. They'll actually be in a state of constantly being high for the rest of their life. That's the best way they can describe it. But what you're describing too, it essentially does sound a lot like a very primitive lobotomy.
Yeah, they would do it to their slaves or to their enemies when they didn't want to actually kill them.
It makes sense too, because the lobotomies do that.
One of the things I found, and I know that the overall topics of what we're talking about is tied to what I'm showing here about this dreaming and all this.
Well, don't forget too. They say that smell is the sense most closely associated with memory, and you're showing right here is literally that on a physical level, with it being that closely tied to the brain.
Yeah.
I got a small question right quick. This just crossed my mind. This actual bone that you're showing, mine is in about 3 pieces and put together with metal plates.
Oh my.
Where I got in that car wreck as a teenager, it crushed that.
Oof. That's not good. Well, how are you alive or functioning at the level you are? That's crazy.
We have asked this question many times.
If you notice, Geo, this bone looks like a ship for one.
That's what when I first saw it. I'm like, is that like some sort of rendered alien spaceship or something?
Well, you can see like the oars or the mechanism that controls the ship. Down here at the bottom, sticking down into the water. You can see. If you look at it from another perspective, you can see this is the what catches the wind. Yeah, like the sails. And
I definitely see a boat in that.
And if you look at the top, then you have all the ports, just like a ship has in it as well. And there's a lot of things in the Bible that that talk about like we're a vessel. We're a vessel on the sea. And of course, you go to Genesis, and it talks about the waters and all these things.
Oh, absolutely.
And then up here at the front of this vessel is this ridge that sticks up here.
Yeah.
And they named that the Christa Galley. A galley is where
this
something.
makes me think of was it Jacob that's tied into the place named Pineal?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's that too.
Yeah, and this sits right. The pineal gland sits right above this right here. It's like it's riding on this ship.
Yeah.
It's a little bit further back, and this sits on top of what looks like a butterfly. Another bone that looks like a butterfly, which I can. Yep, that's it.
Yep.
You ain't no average fella. There, Gio.
I'm just a knowledgeable idiot.
All right, that sounds like me. But I find that the name Krista, because it's like, okay, Christ, you could always get that out of there in the galley. So the place where Christ hangs out, that's pretty interesting when you know that the pineal, I always get it messed up. Pineal is right back here behind that.
On my end, that what brought me back out of years of occult study and practice and many other things was a bunch of psychedelics that work in the pineal and brought me back to Christ, the faith.
Yeah.
So there is that. Also healed me on a number of other levels, but that's complicated.
You can also look at this as a cross with a veil hanging on both sides. You know how you'll see sometimes you got a cross with a veiled great cross. It totally looks like that as well.
And a cross with two angels or an angel on each side.
Yeah. Yep. You could look at it like that too. And it's kind of like there's our body.
Often with Google Earth, you'd be surprised at the stuff you can see in there. Like throughout it's almost like there's a story painted throughout all of the land of the earth.
Yeah, there absolutely, and throughout our bodies as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's that which is reflected in which is in the heavens is reflected upon the earth.
It's like our bodies are. You can look at our body as a model for creation itself.
Yeah,
man
image. That's it summed up.
Yeah, made in His image exactly.
The macro, it's holographic in a sense, in that the whole every piece contains the whole, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I've shown this before too, but I'm going to show it again real quick. We tend to get all over different subjects, but I can tell you,
my brain's like that normally. Some sort of weird autism where I can go all over the place and focus at the same time. So I'm good.
You sound like Roxy.
What's that?
You sound like Roxy. Roxy's the other person here with us.
Gotcha.
You sound like her. If you look, because she's probably doing about 3 or 4 things right now.
I'm only doing 2 other things.
Oh, taking a break then.
Yeah, I'm taking a break. I got kids here now. School buses go.
Yeah, no breaks to be had there.
No.
So talking about the image of the body and being in the image of heavens, the heavens and of earth and all this. If you look at the background for this show, literally it's called or literally behind the imagery that you can't see it here, but it's the icon for the show, the logo, everything is what's called the full solar halo. And this is an image here that kind of shows the overall image and all the lines like that. And this parahelix circle that you see right here, it's called the parahelix circle. It actually, if you were standing looking at this scene and you turned around 360 degrees, you would be able to see this parahelix circle, which is why it's called a circle, because it goes around the entire horizon and then back. And I just find that very interesting when it comes to the thoughts of a firmament and the fact that this is literally the image of an eye, like when we look at our own eye,
Right.
I'm looking.
I've experienced that with the moon, actually.
Yeah, the moon does it too as well. So it's like, it's like there's 2 eyes, and it's like, well, we just happen to have 2 eyes. So there must be something more to this. here's an image that kind of shows the eyelid a little bit. I've got a full-on image I could pull up out of my computer if I want to. See the eyelid up there?
Mm-hmm.
And the parahelix circle, which people see it normally and they call it a sundog. Like that's over in the corner of the eyes. They'll call it a sundog. And
this just reminds me, I had a strange dream last night where there was like a bunch of different moons in the sky in the daytime, though. No idea what that means.
Bunch of different moons in the sky in the daytime.
Yeah. In a cross pattern.
Yeah, that would be in a cross pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild. Let me see if I can
That's all I
find
can remember.
the video from this ski resort. Because here it is, I think.
I will be right back. I need to run out of the room for a few moments.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
Oh, you gonna make me log in to watch a video? Maybe not. Come on. Open up. You gonna play? Apparently it'll play, but it won't display. Oh well. That video has got to be on YouTube as well. But I feel like I'm off topic, but I know that these experiences that we're having with sleep paralysis and astral projection and out of body, for some reason, I just feel like it's directly tied to the fact that our bodies are in the image of the creation in which we exist in. And you can find pretty much all of it if looked at carefully. Let's see, I think this is it. On YouTube, maybe we'll actually be able to see it. Mute the sound. See if I can get it to play. Okay, here we go. I appreciate all y'all guys in the comments being here today. And wherever you're watching from. Nope, it's not going to show it exactly. This is somebody talking about it. They're not showing it really. They kind of are. But you can see it there. See the eyelid? As the sun rises, the eyelid opens up. So, anyways, maybe enough on that exact part of the subject. Now, y'all guys, just so you know, you can join us. There's a link down below the video in the more section if you're on YouTube. Or if you're, let me throw it into the comments here. So in case y'all guys don't have access to get that. Here's the invite link. And we can talk about whatever. But we're going to talk more about this astral projection and outer body kind of thing. I've heard a guy talk about one time how this was what he said. He said that he was going at nighttime, he would lay down and he would literally go places and fight battles. And like, straight up, like, he felt like he was actually going and physically doing it. Like if he was some kind of a space or time traveler kind of thing. I've never had that kind of experience, especially battling. Mine was more like flying around like Peter Pan or something other.
I've had experiences where I've actually had fist fights with black entities, and all of a sudden, like every punch I'm trying to throw is going in super slow motion. Those were never pleasant.
I've had dreams like that. They weren't lucid, but I've had, well, I said they weren't lucid. They mostly were like lucid, where it was like real.
Full lucid, yeah.
It's like every time if you get in a fight in your dreams, you like you just suck at fighting. Either you suck at fighting, or either you're just like the master of it. It seems like one or the other. And it's like, how in the world can I not even hardly throw a punch? It's like, You know,
well, that's what happens when you're trying to fight a spiritual battle with physical means.
True. Yeah. And something I realized a while back that I've said before is that, you know, spiritual is kind of like saying the invisible, or the real thing that cannot be seen with the eyes or the ears, maybe the tongue even. But
maybe we could call it the realm of energy dynamics.
Yeah. And I theorized that the tongue is one of the main routes, and I'm sure the mind and the spirit as well. But the tongue is a supernatural weapon that can be wielded.
The word flows upon. So yeah, definitely.
It's what the word is built upon.
It's what's the word spoken out of. You literally use your tongue to speak words, and all words have power.
Yeah. And like I explained before, you can use your tongue to cut somebody. You can use your tongue to fight in the supernatural realm, and you can use your tongue also to cut yourself.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with me, what I described earlier with those black entities. I didn't try to, fight them with my fists. All of a sudden, stuff came out of my mouth that I didn't know was possible, and that's what got me out of it.
So I got a feeling that you have had some pretty interesting supernatural experiences.
Absolutely.
Would you mind maybe sharing one or two with us?
I could, the first one that comes to mind is, I'll share a miracle I witnessed. Okay. My stepfather had gotten into a coma because he drank something he should not have drank, had to get life flighted down to Hershey Medical Center. And my mother stood behind me with the little angel statue. She was Catholic. I'm devout Catholic myself, but I'm a little unique in certain regards in that regard, and I can get into that later if anyone has questions. But we got to the hospital room. She stood behind me saying a prayer with a little angel statue in her hands. I walked over to him. He was in a coma in a hospital bed. The doctors were saying he would not come out of the coma most likely, and if he did, he'd have to go through a lot of stuff to get back to health and whatnot. And I grabbed his hand, I looked him in the eye, and I can't repeat the words that came out of my mouth. I don't know what they were, what language it was, but something came out of my mouth, and instantly he started gripping on my hand and kicking and thrashing around, and he came out of the coma, and my mother was ecstatic, thankfully, because having lost my father prior to that, that's, my motivation. I didn't even like the guy personally, but my mother hadn't wanted to lose another husband, so on and so forth. So I stepped in and did that, and the Lord worked through me, and lo and behold, he came out of the coma. He still had to go through a lot of dialysis after that, but he did live for a while.
Wow. Hey, Roxy.
The other one I could talk about is a magic tree from Africa that gives life.
Hold that thought just a second, Gio.
Yep.
And I do want to hear it. I was asking Roxy something.
Sorry.
Roxy.
Go ahead, I'm here.
Can you tell us the story about your ex-father-in-law getting burned and how you handled it and what happened after it and all that kind of thing?
My ex-father-in-law had an accident with some diesel fuel. He was burning some debris at his sister's house. He went to pour diesel fuel on the fire. Fire fed back to the jug because it didn't exhaust properly. It ended up exploding on him. Burnt the side of his head, his ear, neck, shoulder, arms. I went immediately to the emergency room. When I was young, my grandmother passed some things on to me, which I had never really, I guess you'd say, thought about or used or whatever. So I proceeded to try to remove or talk the fire out of his burns. His burns were extensive. He was being life flighted to Atlanta to a burn hospital. And when I left the hospital, before I could get out of the emergency room, I had blisters on the bottom of my feet. And he, hopefully, I hope that some of that helped him, because I evidently took some of it. Wasn't the first time I've done it. That was one of the last, due to the intense pain that I received from it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you do any of these things without taking something on yourself. I've talked fire out a couple of times. I have stopped bleeding, hemorrhaging blood. I've stopped that once. And another little odd fact is I can remove warts with words. I have 2 stepchildren who had them all over their hands, their legs, their feet, and they were teenagers and they were concerned it was making them self-conscious, and they no longer have any warts, and all I did was speak to them. But these were things that my grandmother passed on to me when I was younger, probably a teenager, and at the time had no idea what she was telling me. But at some point later in life, I had nothing to lose at that point, the way he was burnt, so I did what I did.
And you said the bottom of your feet blistered.
Oh yeah, it looked like I'd been walking on hot charcoal.
And didn't you say something happened with your mouth, if I remember looking at it correctly?
Oh yeah, I had blisters in my mouth. There was like, my tongue stayed in this like burnt sensation for probably a month. Like, almost like if you scorched your mouth on a hot piece of pizza, like the burn even hurts when you breathe in and the air crosses it. That lasted for about a month. It finally dissipated. It took about a month to go away. I think the blisters took, a week and a half, 2 weeks to heal up. But it almost looked like I'd been wearing shoes that were too small, but it was the whole soles of both of my feet were blistered.
Yeah. And I could share some things. Matter of fact, I will share real quick. It has something to do with both of y'all guys, with Roxy and with Geo.
Well, let me clarify one thing before we go any further. I have no powers. I don't do anything. The Lord just worked through me. That's all I can say. All glory goes to Him.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too. It's something we're blessed with the ability to be able to do, and ultimately it all comes from.
Well, everything that has to do with all three of those things are things that come from the Bible. They're particular verses at particular places, and those are what are used for that.
Yeah,
I have seemed to experience at points similar in my life with people that were experiencing, say, heart issues or whatnot, where I'd come over and it would be clear they're having some sort of symptoms going on and whatnot, and by the end of it, I'd be feeling them and they'd be like completely rejuvenated, and then I'd have to go walk away and work all of that out of me, and that was a pain, and I really didn't feel good.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of other people understand how easily you can absorb that from somebody else, whether it be something physical or just in their overall being. But we tend to absorb that from others. Yeah,
their spirits.
Yeah, some of us aren't as good as not sponging it up.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it in a second about what I learned about. You could call it sympathetic pains or injuries when you help certain people in certain situations. But I'll try to explain here in a minute as to what I think would help with that. But I wanted to tell a little story that has to do with Roxy, because it's Roxy's mother that I'm going to talk about. And at Geo, it has to do with somebody being in a hospital and being in a bad spot. There was a number, I can't remember how many years ago it's been now, but Roxy's mother was in the hospital, and she'd gotten in a car wreck where she had fallen asleep or something and jumped a railroad track and hit a pine tree head on.
Yeah, I know you froze.
Roxy.
There we go. We lost you for just a second.
You're back.
I'm back. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So she jumped a railroad track and hit a pine tree head on at about 45 miles an hour, and she got some injuries, including like a really whack to the head, And she was in the hospital, and I heard about it, obviously, and when it comes to doing this and going and helping somebody, I mean, you would think, well, why aren't you just up there at the hospital all the time helping people? Because for me, it's like I get a pull, a tug to go help that person, not everybody, but it's like that one, no, just like bad things happen in the world. That one, yes, go help that one. But I went to the hospital and she was in ICU and she was paralyzed on her left side, couldn't move anything. She could see out of her left eye, but she could not blink her left eye. She could blink her right eye, but she couldn't blink her left eye. And she was paralyzed on her left side. She couldn't move her arm, couldn't do anything, move her legs, nothing. Right side was working pretty good. So to me, you know, I know that there's been a shock, you know, to the electrical system that exists within our minds and everything. And so I put my attention on trying to correct the wiring, and I'm just trying to use the best words I can here to describe, you know. And I put my intention on visualizing in my mind correcting the wiring that was damaged. And I, what you would call, pray for her. And there was a number of people in the room. And I mean, she was not in a good place, to be honest with you, at all. But when I got done, I looked at her, she looked at me, and she immediately blinked her left eye. She looked at me and went blink and blinked her left eye and lifted her left arm up and moved it around like this and laid it back down.
Yeah.
And it was that quick. It was literally seconds, you know. And I think this is something that probably everybody here listening can do, you know. I think it has a lot to do with believing that you can do something. And you know, the words of "ye of little faith" come to mind, but believing that you can do something. And I think it has a lot to do with like the outer body and the astral projection stuff as well, is believing that you can do these things. And although, again, I'm not encouraging people to try to do those things because I don't understand them well enough to.
Yeah, there are dangers.
Yeah, they can be dangerous and they can be terrifying.
Absolutely.
But there was that time, and she recovered really fast, got out of the hospital. There was another time where I had this lady who had a cancer on her face, on her cheek, melanoma, and on the back of her leg, down above the ankle, on the very back side of her leg, just above the ankle, it was a sore that would not heal, and they believed it was cancerous as well. And so I prayed for her and put my hands in close to the places, and I imagined perfect skin, you know, the intent of perfect skin coming back to those locations. This lady was an older lady. She was probably 20 years older than me. But what happened is that she went back to the doctor the next week. The doctor said, there's no cancer there. And the place on the back of her leg had healed up in that week, and the scab had even fell off. And she called me up and told me and said, you know, that. And I said, yes, I'm aware it fell off, but it's on the back of my leg. And literally in the exact same spot above my ankle on the back of my leg, I had this sore that came up, and it looked almost identical to hers. And you know, you had to stop and think, what in the world? And for some reason, what came to mind for me is when Moses was said to be on top of the mountain and he was communing with God, which is one thing you're definitely doing if you're doing these kinds of things. He was told to take his shoes off.
Yep.
And so he would be barefoot on the ground, on the earth. And because we know that all things that die and go away, they go back into the earth. And so I think a piece of good advice would be, if you can, be barefoot and standing on the ground. If you're attempting to pray for somebody, It doesn't necessarily mean I don't think that you have to be outside. It's kind of like being grounded. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
So
you don't have that layer of rubber between, your feet and the ground, and there are
yeah,
certain electrical forces at play here. I mean, I personally take my shoes off or use, when I go hiking quite a bit. I like to take my shoes off for a while in certain areas, especially for doing what you're describing right now.
Right.
Take your shoes off, he was standing on holy ground.
Yeah, exactly. Said he was standing on holy ground. And I always wondered about that holy ground thing, but I think it's any place that you're communing with God. And throughout all civilization, many, many, many times people go to the highest point they can find, or by the water's edge. I've had both of those.
I got a story for you on that one.
Okay.
It happened last year. I was on a hike. I was by myself. My friends, I was with a couple of friends, but they were off way in the distance, good, maybe 300 yards away at the time. I'm walking through the woods. I'm looking up through the hemlocks along the stream side. And I go, wow, Lord, this is beautiful. How you doing? And immediately, as soon as my eyes met the ground, on the ground in front of me, it's spelled out in little pieces of perfectly cut 2x4, all perfectly arranged, said, yo, hello, hi, exclamation point. That blew my mind.
Yo, hello.
It was just completely out of place in the middle of the woods. It wasn't, it was just there all of a sudden.
Well, my mind wants to go in several directions with that one.
Right?
Were you on a path?
I was just walking along the side of a stream edge. There wasn't really much of a path there. I mean, somebody could have placed it there and whatnot, but the fact of the matter was I didn't see it walking in, and I saw it the moment after I said that and looked down. The timing was more important than anything, in my opinion, on the matter.
So like yo as in Y-O, yo?
Yep. Y-O-H-E-L-L-O-H-I. Or it might have been yo, hi, hello. One of those. It was yo, hello, and hi on the ground, exclamation points in little pieces of 2x4. That just appeared out of nowhere. The moment I looked at it.
Almost reminded me of the Hebrew letters that for Father's name,
Yeah.
And for some reason that struck me as related to that somehow.
I get that. I get the same inkling on that now that you mention it. There was another time I was out on a hike with my friend. It was a little rainy out, and I'm sitting there and we're having a discussion. I say something to him, like, I forget exactly what it was, and I said, people need to start listening to God. And I pointed up, and the moment I pointed up, there had not been a sound all day. But the moment my finger went up and I said that, thunder went off, and then I looked at him and I said, see, people need to listen to God. And I pointed up again, and it happened again, and then not again for the rest of the day, not before any of that, not after. It was just 2 thunders, and it was very weird in how well it was timed.
Wow.
So I have a lot of things like that have happened over the years.
We've got somebody in the comments here says that, okay, I'm putting that up, guys. Let that stay up for a second. She says I have something like that going on the back of my leg, small sore that won't heal. And I thought it was a sliver, but I hate going to the doctor. Says it won't heal. Okay. So what I would advise you to do is to take your hand and put it, just kind of gently lay it on top of that spot and go into, as best you can, into a state of love and bliss. And see that spot in your mind, see that spot healing and whatever's causing it going away. But you need to be in a place in your mind of love, no fear, no worry about what it is. You need to be in a state of knowing that it will go away. And that would be my advice for you, and also to thank Father for it, that it will be taken care of. So there you go, Snowball. And so far as the doctors, they're going to find something. They love to find something and then throw a bottle of pills down your throat. You know.
Remember, never give glory to the doctors. Always give glory to the Father working through them. If anything,
Right.
if nothing else. I personally go for all natural medicines at this point, unless I'm like on death's doorstep or mangled. I avoid hospitals at all costs. And I've had a lot of positive benefits from that over the past few years now, especially. I'm healthier in my 40s than I was in my 20s.
Right. I'm reading comments, some of and listening to everybody at the same time. Yeah, why don't everybody here just take a moment to send the feeling of love to Snowball and think about that spot on her leg. And in your mind, while you're feeling this feeling of love for someone who has a need for it, see it in your mind that this thing is going to be clear, and it's going to be clear within a week, and it's going to be gone. And when you're thinking like this, you have to shut everything else out, all the noise, and have like an intense focus in your mind. And send that to Snowball so that whatever it is that's going on there is taken care of. And yes, this works. Exactly. Thank you, Subversive. All right, let's see here. Snowball is a man. Okay, well, if Snowball is a man, it works the same way. Okay. So send the...
One thing I want to point out that Anna pointed out in the chat too is that let thy food be thy medicine and your medicine be thy food. And that a mantra sort of I've been living by for the past few years that's been very helpful for me is the body is the temple and you are what you consume. So consume appropriately. And I literally read all the ingredients and everything before I buy it. When I go to the store, I still have pizza here and there, but for the most part, since I've changed my dietary practices and focusing on not indulging in junk and preservatives and artificial crap, my health has changed dramatically for the better. Physical and mental.
Well, Snowball, miracles are possible. Not only are they possible, I feel in your case, it's already taken care of. Biggest key is that you just have to believe it. And you just have to accept that these things are possible. And once you have that level of belief, faith, then it's done. That's just, for me, that's how it works. So, and sorry for assuming that you were a female there, but no big deal, right? So, but thank you, Snowball, for being here and sharing what's going on with you there. All right, let's see here. I'm just catching up on the comments. Yep. And thank you, Rage Against the Machine, for your nice comments there. And you too, Flame. So there was a story earlier, Gia, that you were saying something about, telling us about, and I had you hold on because I was talking to Roxy for a second. You remember what it was?
Oh, yeah. This actually might be beneficial for anybody who's facing health issues, especially those regarding addiction. Back in 2011, I was about 8 years into an opioid and polysubstance addiction and basically at my wit's end. And I prayed and prayed. And what eventually came to me was bark from the roots of a tree that grows in Africa. And I held the bark up when it arrived. And I said, Lord, either heal me or kill me, please. Thankfully, it healed me dramatically. It took very large opioid addiction and smashed it into nothing. Removed cravings, withdrawals, completely over the last 13 years I've been working with it now has completely gone over multiple instances of PTSD and reclamation of such, so on. And therefore, it's improved my health, my habits of eating, even just my interactions with others, my spiritual life. Everything has just been improving the more I've worked with this over the years. So I'm literally calling it a tree that gives life because it literally will reverse your age as well visibly. People have taken note of this, and I've had photographic evidence as well as people that are around me that have taken note of the same thing. I have a friend who was 77 years old with severe diabetic neuropathy. His legs were completely failing him. Once or twice a week, he would fall, have to call the ambulance. I fed him 3 small doses of this, and he didn't fall for well over a year. If he even fell again, I'm not sure.
Wow. So
I have a cat crippled in a door, and he now can walk again after a couple of small doses.
So you can you have access to posting comments right there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would you mind posting what the best spelling of that root that you're referring to?
I believe that would be it. There are a number of multiplying testimonies on YouTube as well, especially from veterans and Navy SEALs regarding their healing from it, regarding post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as traumatic brain injury, which it's also being used for over in Ukraine currently, at least the extract from it. And it's also being used in Israel to treat various neurodegenerative disorders and forms of dementia as well now.
Is it called
Tabernanthe Iboga, or just Iboga for short.
The tabernacle is us.
Right? It's an interesting name now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a tree that gives life from the most ancient of gardens.
And Iboga, I mean, I'm into this thing, well, for quite a while now, looking at words differently.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I like those. I like that.
Iboga. There's a reason for those words there, those letters, obviously. Y'all guys check that out. If you've got anything going on with you, look it up. He said it's got a lot of different helps.
It
and a lot
cured my carpal tunnel even. I don't know how it did that, but I had surgery set up. It was bad to the point where I was waking up from a dead sleep, pacing back and forth with my hand in the air, wincing because I felt like I dipped my hand in lava. And then a week after, a couple small doses of that, and it was gone forever. And that was a couple of years ago now. And that was after putting off surgery for a year and the doctors doing the nerve conduction test where they stab you with needles and see what the electricity measures between the nerves and whatnot. Told me it was severe. It will not get better. Well, here we are.
I've heard some amazing things about this on quite a few podcasts, and there's some people that are getting we're in full PTSD, suicidal soldiers on suicide watch, and they go down and go through a program which is preset. It's not just like you go down and take a route, but it's a whole
in my
system.
case it was, but it still had the same effect.
Well, and these are guys who are this is do or die, and these people come back, they look healthier, they feel healthier. You can visibly see that
they even
their
look
mind
younger.
has been reset.
Pay attention, you'll notice they even look younger than before they underwent therapy with it.
Yeah, there was one of the actors the other day, and he hasn't been on anything in a while, but I guess back in the 90s, and he might have been on Joe Rogan or one of the other podcasts, and they were like, guy, you look so good. And he went to telling about this, and he's like, just hard life, partying, and didn't take care of myself back in my Hollywood heyday, and liked to kill me. But he literally looked like he had aged backwards.
Literally, yeah. I've been working with it extensively, studying it, experimenting with it, and taking note of various, experiences with it over the past 13 years now, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. I've even had 2 conversations with my head pastor at my local church about it so far. He's even intrigued by it.
I think there were a lot of things put on this earth for us to heal us that we've never even got to yet, because somebody can't make profit off of
the King James Bible, or in the book of Sirach in the Catholic Bible, there is a verse that says, "The Most High hath created medicines of the earth, and wise men will not abhor them." And I live by that.
Well, and if you look at particular fruits and vegetables, they look like particular organs or parts of our body, and generally, those are the organs that they heal.
I've been saying that for years too. Absolutely, spot on.
Yeah, now I'm going to be having to dive down this route.
There's a really good book on it I would recommend for anyone called Iboga, The Root of All Healing by Daniel Brett. It's like $15 on Amazon. I just picked it up myself recently, and going through it, I could say that he's covering things pretty well.
Nice. Yeah, Melinda was mentioning that, and also, well, I started to welcome a gentleman that had joined us below, but it looks like he bailed out. So you're welcome to come back, brother or sister. I think it was a gentleman.
Let's go into the bathroom. I will be ready.
You are okay. But yeah, we talk on here quite a bit, uh, quite often about the subject matter of foods, natural foods that are for the body and can heal you from lots of these things. I would imagine that there's things that can calm your mind so you don't have these sleep paralysis and these other kinds of events as well. And there's things that would maybe even heighten those. And, it's who knows? There's because it says, I was reading about this stuff, the Tabernacle Iboga, and it says that it can have a psychological hallucinogen effect as well. And I'm not against things that are natural if you do it right in trying to understand what you're dealing with. There's most things that are natural are here for a reason. I'd say all things that are here for a reason. So just because it's maybe a little bit of, makes you a little high or altered just a little bit temporarily, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing when it comes to a lot of stuff. Here, this guy's got some of the root. I'm looking for a decent photo or picture. Apparently, that's some of the root coming from it. I thought for a second there he was going to say turmeric, but because turmeric is a really awesome root as well.
Saffron is a very good spice too. It does some amazing things.
Yeah, you can take turmeric. You know how you can find the yellow rice, and you can do it with saffron too because it's yellow. You know how you can find that yellow rice in the stores sometimes?
Yep.
That is saffron or either turmeric or a mix of both. And it turns the rice yellow and it gives it a different flavor.
Saffron is one of the most expensive things on earth by weight.
Yeah, but turmeric is not, and it's awesome as well.
It's good.
So if you like to mix, the Indian culture uses turmeric a lot in with their foods, and a lot of their dishes they use turmeric. And I bought 5 pounds of it not too long ago. I've got it in there. Matter of fact, we need to have some yellow rice tonight. Some turmeric rice.
Yeah.
We haven't busted that bag open yet to have some.
It's good for your stomach also.
Yeah, those roots. You're talking about things that are good for your stomach. Think about your roots are inside of your own body. We have our roots internal. Trees, they have their roots external. But if you want something think about what is
I'm back.
Okay, Jill. So think about like roots, because our roots are internal. And okay, so then if we've got a stomach problem, maybe we need some ginger root, or maybe we need some other kind of roots, depending on what the problem is, because typically you can find the solution to your medical problem by looking at the foods and everything that exist out there that are in the image of whatever the body part is. Like,
think about it too. Like a lot of roots look like intestines and whatnot, and they're filled with fiber, which helps things move through there cleanly. And they have a bunch of vitamins and minerals that are very specific to targeting those areas and helping them out. Exactly. Yeah.
And another thing is people have to learn that a lot of this information isn't just laid out there for you to see. Because the easier, the cheaper it is for you to take care of yourself, the people at the top who are making all the money, they're not making anything off of it. So they're going to do everything they can to suppress this information. I mean, dandelions, they don't cause any harm in your yard, but yet Roundup has been sold for years to get rid of the dandelions. So your yard,
they're great for your liver.
Yeah, they're what they make the number one selling heart medication out of. And guess what? The people that own the pharmaceutical company, they own the Roundup company too.
They offer treatments, not cures. They keep us as medical cattle and keep us alive and mask over symptoms until we're in hospice, and then they take over with our children, and that's how it's been.
A well patient is not a return customer.
Amen.
Check that out. Here's somebody with this image on the internet talking exactly about what you're saying. For
Absolutely.
Narcotic addiction and other ailments of the body, mind, and spirit.
Well, now they actually have a prescription drug they're coming out with. It's called Iboga, which is part of this root. It's called Iboga with an N. The pharmaceutical companies know very well what it does. And they know that they could almost eradicate this the opioid epidemic and the methamphetamine epidemic. But they're not. They're not going to. They make too much money off of these drug rehab centers.
So
there's
maybe
one problem too with the Iboga extract is it's very dangerous and can cause some serious heart conditions outside of a very, very strict clinical setting, while the root bark has multiple different alkaloids that help in conjunction with that healing. So it's a far safer experience, as well as a far more beneficial healing and even addiction busting than the Iboga on its own.
Yeah, I would suggest probably getting it in its natural form, like what you're saying, Gio.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you surely don't want something that they've been doctoring and rendering on, because they've probably added 4 side effects so they can give you another pill.
I can say that I have experience with the extract once many years ago, and it felt like my heart was falling out of my chest. I'm very lucky it didn't stop. As far as the root bark, I've eaten over 2 pounds of it in the past 13 years, and I've had nothing but good effects.
I am a personal testimony of what Big Pharma can do to somebody who gets diagnosed with something. I had cancer, and after I was clean of cancer, supposedly, years later, I was still taking 27 pills a day. And it was ridiculous because of everything they had given me had depleted almost every nutrient in my body. So I'm taking handfuls of vitamins and handfuls of pills and another pill to keep you from being nauseous. I mean, it's insanity.
Here's the other really strange thing about Iboga. It actually seems to have its own sentience, and it is very communicative and very detailed and lucid in its communication. And it guides you towards healing and everything else that's just beneficial.
Did you ever experience any hallucinative type things or hallucinogenic?
Oh, immensely so. On the higher dosages especially.
Oh, yeah, they say it can be very, very out there and that you get sick.
But very
it's
lucid
like
at the same time. It's unlike any other psychedelic out there. I have a lot of experience with a very large multitude in that regard, but this is something different in that you're completely aware and retaining of information that you're being presented with. And it's very detailed and very specific.
Down there. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, wow.
My dad had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He also had brain cancer. In every single house within a 2-mile radius of us, somebody was eat up with cancer. Multiple people, multiple forms of cancer. There used to be a what was it, Danny?
What's the name of that place?
Tommy Mills. They made thread.
Yeah.
And back in the day, my dad worked there back in the 70s. And he said they would take 50-gallon vats of chemicals and dye and everything else, and they would take them out back to a ditch and just, rinse them out because they needed to use the 55-gallon drum again, and they had no idea of what they were doing to the groundwater in the neighborhood. And we had no idea because we had a big old huge swimming pool, so we used to soak in it all day. Yeah, everybody in the neighborhood. When I had my cancer, my dad had already had his. He got a little bit better. Then I got sick. And then immediately after I got sick, my 19-year-old niece had stage 4 cancer, who lived a couple of houses down. And it got everybody in the neighborhood. But you know what? Nothing's ever been done about it. And I caused a ruckus. I couldn't get anybody to do anything.
Yeah, they shut down, went out of business, and left everybody holding the bag around there.
Oh, yeah. Now they built a big industrial park over top of it.
And keep in mind, too, cancer, I feel like cancer, because of its attributes of the way it behaves and what it does to its victim, is some type of parasitic. There's a parasitic nature to it. So it can be treated with like ivermectin or fenbendazole, which is simply a dog dewormer or a cow dewormer, an animal dewormer. And if you go to a website called, well, since I got the screen up, I'll go ahead and go to it.
Well, another thing with the ivermectin, not only does it disperse parasites, but it can actually, if you have come in contact with somebody who has something that is viral, it can actually just put your body into a position that the viral cannot take over. It will actually dispel the virus within you. It stops it from replicating. But you got to be on it quick. When you start feeling the sniffles or the sneezes or the aches, jump on it. Take some ivermectin. We keep it in mass supply around here.
And I've taken fenbendazole.
I got frog venom on a stick that'll kill anything that comes at me.
What?
Frog venom from South America that you apply to small burn wounds that will practically kill anything that comes into you. And do a lot of repair work as well. It's called Cambo.
Wow. Sounds like you've been doing quite a bit of researching into that area as well. That's pretty cool.
It's sort of specialized into it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have to seek, we have
Absolutely.
to seek the truth, seek the answers. Yeah, but you first have to have the question.
God's first commandment to Adam was to tend the garden. And part of that's knowing all the plants in it and what they do.
And named them all. Yep. Named everything.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. We've kind of went all over everywhere, which
heard of the apricot.
Fine. So what?
I've heard about the apricot kernels. I forget what the chemical in them is called or whatnot, but I know they're really tasty.
Apricot kernels. You mean like the seeds?
Yeah, the apricot seeds are something anti-cancer benefits of the one chemical within them.
I think you have to swallow them whole as part of the thing or something.
Chew them.
I would recommend, this is just my thought, my opinion, and that is with the seeds, you need to be eating the seeds. Of course, you want to make sure whatever the kind of seed is, it's not going to hurt you. But if you're going to,
but it's typically not going to hurt.
The DNA material is inside of the seed. So a lot of times you need to crack that seed or bite it, chew it up, but so that you can get the meat or the genetic material out of it in order to get the benefits of what is laying in there waiting to heal you. Because think about how many peach seeds go in the trash.
I have a fun farmer fact for you. If let's say you got a little greenhouse and you're going to set up some vegetables to grow, tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever. If you will actually take that seed and put it in your mouth before you plant it, that plant will grow more specifically to what you need, just like a mother's breast milk.
Yeah, epigenetic exposure.
You can genetically modify your own seeds with your saliva before you plant them, and it will grow in a genetic way, which will give you the nutrition that you need.
Are you saying a specific seed or just seeds?
Any seed. You want to plant some cucumber plants, stick them in your mouth before you put them in the dirt. Let it absorb your DNA, and that plant's composition will change based on what you need, what you're deficient in.
That makes a lot of sense. That is crazy.
Tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelons, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a food and you're going to eat it, put it in your mouth before you put it in the dirt. It's just like a mother's breast milk. When a baby suckles at a mother's breast, let's say that baby's forming an ear infection. Well, this time when he feeds, the milk that he gets will be one way. But as soon as the saliva from his mouth touches her body will automatically interpret that and re-gear the antibiotics that he needs for the next feeding to address his ear infection. The food you eat will do the same thing if you plant it correctly.
That's epigenetic exposure and how it changes things. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
That is supernatural.
Think about it. Technically, that's kind of what happened with the Virgin Mary, in that the words of Gabriel actually caused an epigenetic event to where she became impregnated just through that exposure, in a similar way to what you're describing.
I guess y'all guys now are starting to see why I have Roxy now on the show with us as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I also want to mention that Shannon was unable to be here today. She's having to work. I normally have a co-host on here that goes by the name of Shannon. Roxy is my supernatural investigative assistant and recruiter. She goes after guests that I might want to have on the show from time to time, which aren't that many, but there are some people out there that I would make an effort to go after. And of course, she is a commentator here on the show as well. And yeah, I think y'all guys are starting to see why Roxy's here, because she just blew my mind too. Yeah, but that makes total sense.
Good group you got here. I like this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about what a mother's body does for an infant, a newborn, and this is one of the importance of breastfeeding. Even if you can't breastfeed, which some mothers can't, I couldn't, but if you are able to pump any at all, this is part of the process, because the saliva from that child, your body will then register it and correct whatever your body needs to produce to make that child healthy. That's why infants and toddlers were so much healthier before we all went to formula, because you're taking that epigenetic out. We were designed to heal each other. The plants were designed to heal us if you know how to use them correctly, but they're not going to teach you that, because if they don't teach you that, then you get to go to their doctors and their hospitals so that they can charge you and your health insurance and your government.
Okay, real quick, guys. We have someone else is trying to join us under the name of MC Nemesis, and I can't quite see the rest of it. MC Nemesis, I just want to welcome you to the show. I'm going to bring you up on the stage here in a second. Keep in mind that since I don't know you, I'm going to ask you to keep your camera off until I feel that I know you. And if you do turn your camera on, I will be removing you immediately from the stage. If it's an accident, I'm not going to kick you out. I'm just going to remove you from the stage. Hold on just a second, guys. Okay, MC Nemesis, I see where you just entered something in the chat, in the private chat, and you will not be coming on the show. So, bye, and you're banned.
Good call.
Yep, did you see what he put in the chat? Don't say it out loud.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's uncalled for.
It was nice of him to let us know his intentions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get donkeys all the time.
Yep. Yep, that's definitely a donkey right there. So, but we're not going to give it any.
As soon as you said the names, I just got this sense. It was weird.
Nemesis typically is enemy.
Yeah.
You know, it's your greatest enemy kind of thing. So, yeah, we'll let him go play ball somewhere else because I ain't got no time for it. So let's not mention him anymore. Let's move on.
Amen.
So let's. I was thinking about talking about breast milk and stuff. I'm trying to think of something that my ex-wife used one time. She was having a problem with getting her milk to flow, and it was this herb, or I thought for a moment I thought milk thistle, but I don't think that's it. It's another name.
That's for the liver.
Anybody know? Yeah. Anybody know what I'm talking about in the chat? The stuff that you take and it makes your milk flow. Let me just go down to the bottom of the chat here and see if I see. Opium lettuce. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Fenugreek, maybe?
Fenugreek. That's it. Fenugreek. Okay. Yeah, and it works. Yeah, so if you know a mother that's having a hard time getting the milk to flow, get her some fenugreek. Let me. Can you tell me how to spell that, Gio?
F-U-N-U or F-E-N-U, and then Greek, as in like G-R-E-E-K. F-E-N-U-G-R-E-E-K.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we share it, make sure everybody knows what it is, because I definitely know this works, and we're sharing knowledge and studying and trying to help everybody with various things.
Share a small list in the chat here of a couple things that'll help overall.
Mm-hmm.
Stinging nettle is a really good one too. I can just attest to that because it's so loaded with nutrients. There's no way you can't have good effects from eating it. You got to remember to cook it first, though. Otherwise, it's a whole different level of spicy.
Fenugreek?
No, the stinging nettle.
What's it called again?
Stinging nettle.
Stinging nettle. Okay.
That's and pretty much the most nutritious plant in nature, and the first thing to pop out in spring. And the reason it has the stingers on it is because of it being so nutritious. And if it didn't, everything would eat it.
Right.
But if you cook it, it is savory and delicious, like really top quality stuff.
That's interesting. You just mentioned that it has stickers on it to prevent everything from eating it. But you would think, well, the stickers are saying I'm dangerous, don't mess with me. Mm-hmm. But that's not necessarily the case, because you think about like some other things, maybe roses or like barberries. Barberries, delicious. Tons of stickers.
Yeah.
But there's a great knowledge to be picked up there, in when you're trying to understand the plants and everything that God put here for us.
Yeah.
Is saying, okay, everything means something. If it has stickers, if it's this color, if it's that color, if it grows high up in the top of a tree, if it grows under the ground, if it, you know what I mean? Everything it's like a code. And
one thing I generally get from anything that has stickers on it is it must be really good because it's protecting itself.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
And the stinging nettles, even the stingers, I mean, yeah, they're an irritant for things eating them, but you can actually take those and smack them off of a joint with arthritis, and the chemicals within them will actually help alleviate that. And again, if you cook them, it'll get rid of all the sting, and you'll be able to enjoy the literally most nutritious plant within nature, more or less.
Wow. What awesome.
And it's delicious. I really, really do recommend it. I've been growing it for a number of years now for that reason.
Well, and most of the food that we are getting at grocery stores or Walmarts or wherever you're getting it from, all this processed food, nutritional value is not a factor in it. Yeah. They could care less about the nutritional factor in it. And most households, a good 90 to 95% of everything you're buying or coming in contact with is processed in a factory or a plant.
Yep.
If your body is not getting the basic nutritional things that it needs, it's going to get cancer. You're going to get sick. You're going to have things of different nature. Your skin's not going to look good. You got to know what you're deficient in.
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm just looking at a lot of awesome comments and stuff flying through. There's a book out there. There's stuff in there.
The cayenne pepper for blood flow. I just saw that. That you actually put that on externally. If you're getting like the stinging in your feet, some neuropathy, something just isn't quite right with the blood flow, you can make a turmeric or cayenne paste and put on the bottom of your feet. It's going to burn a little bit. You're not going to leave it on an extraordinary amount of time, but it does help to return circulation to your feet with neuropathy.
So y'all guys hear that? Cayenne pepper.
Make a paste out of it. There's all kinds of things. Your skin and your scalp are two of it is the biggest organ on your body.
Yeah, your skin.
Every little teeny tiny pore on your skin can absorb not only whatever you rub on it, but the shampoo.
Lost you there for a second, Roxy.
Yep.
Oop. Still lost you, Roxy. Your internet's fouling out, or either you're saying something really important. Could be either. Yeah, man, this is an awesome group of Awesome group of people here. She's trying to
Yeah.
reconnect. She is. You back?
Yep.
You back, Roxy?
I
Rock?
don't know. I went out and I came
Yep.
back as a double. I don't know.
There's two of you in here.
I'm multiplying.
I'm not sure what to do about it.
I'm multiplying. Yeah, there shouldn't be more than one of me at any given time.
Yeah, I like two Rock. It's kind of cool.
I'm actually about to take an herbal medicine right now known as kratom to address some injuries I've had over the years that have just caused chronic pain.
Well,
This stuff works wonders.
I've got to go here shortly, but one of the last things I want to say, since we're on the whole skin and absorbing and the chemicals, when you're buying products to wash your hair with, your skin with, anything, if it does not say soap on it, the word soap, it's not good for you. It's full of chemicals.
I go with straight up castle soap, and I'm
Sounds
also
like
big on the skin biome too, because there's a healthy layer of bacteria that far too often people completely destroy, which causes sickness to develop and spread much more easily. And I prefer to, bathe 2-3 times a week rather than every day, because otherwise you're washing away all that good bacteria.
Absolutely. So whether all these liquid body washes that smell like coconut and vanilla, that's not good for you. Might smell good, but it ain't good for you. Even the chemicals you put in your clothes, because your clothes rub up against your skin all day long, which is one big, huge surface to soak into your body.
Yep.
If you were meant to have all of those 972 chemicals on the side of that washing powder in your body, you would be eating it, and you're not, except for the few dingbats that were eating the Tide Pods here some years ago. But it's not meant for you. It's not meant for that purpose. Like even all of the aromatherapy and the candles in our houses, we're not built that way. That stuff gets in your nose on those teeny fine hairs in there, and they cause all kind of problems. But
unless they're all natural, like really good quality, they typically just make my sinuses go crazy.
Yeah, it's not meant for you. Those things aren't meant for you. Some of the healthy, if you look at other countries, other populations, other civilizations, look at other countries just as a simple fact. Go research this. If you want to go look at, I guess, what we as Americans kind of consider a third world country, they don't have public water systems or public sewer systems. Go look at those countries that have no public water system, where they're not drinking this fluoridized water that we're consuming. They have almost little to no occurrences of two things. Would you like to guess what those two things are? Gender dysphoria, which is number one. They have
I know why that's going on.
Well, that's because of the birth control that ends up in the water in our
water
fluoridized water system.
Doesn't remove it, and that's been happening over a couple of generations now, quite heftily. So that absolutely makes complete sense.
Well, I can show you how Post and Kellogg's cereal started a good deal of that back in some mental asylums back in the early 1900s too.
There was that too.
Yeah, he was trying to stop some things back then, and it just kept on keeping on. But and they don't have a lot of autism because they don't take vaccinations, and they're not eating fluoride or drinking it every time they take a sip of something.
I live in a non-fluoridated county, thankfully, but I drink spring water exclusively otherwise. But I definitely do have autism. I was diagnosed, and I have no complaints there because it's been very helpful.
I have two children that are touched with it in one way or another. Both of them are very high-functioning adults, but it's between the vaccines and
watch that public word, Roxy.
That stuff they force our children to do. I forget about that word, but and the way the water quality is. If you go look at third world countries that don't have these things, that don't force our children to take them, they don't have these problems. So that alone right there should tell you that something's wrong with what they're doing to us.
Here's something really strange. In America, we take schizophrenics and we blast them with medicines, making them as zombies with all these side effects. While in Africa, they teach them to work with the spirits of their ancestors and use it as guidance and how to discern between good spirits and demonic spirits, and they don't have really any issues with it.
Well, this is kind of where our whole theory on this gateway conversation that we've been having about a lot of these things. I was in a program for gifted and talented kids for many years. They were trying to figure out which one of us could do these things, which ones were telepathic or had telekinesis or could remote view or astral project. And the crazy thing is, the building they had me in for 5 years doing whatever they were doing with God knows what, the ones that could actually do it were just on the other side of the building. They were the nonverbal autistic kids. Those children are telepathic. For anybody who has not listened to the telepathy tapes, you should sit down, take an evening, and listen to that, and it will give you a greater understanding of those kids.
I have no doubt in this, and there's an herb out there. It's a seed known as Syrian rue, and it actually amplifies this effect. I've witnessed it and experienced it along with my roommate, who's also got touch with the autism, and it's very crazy when you actually start like noticing it happening. Like you're thinking about something, and then he starts talking about it as if you were saying it, stuff like that.
The guy that I'm with, we've been together about 5 years now, and we find it really crazy sometimes that one of us finishes the other one's sentence, and we think we've kind of finally figured out that's what's happening. We're speaking without words.
Hey, Gio, do you have a YouTube channel by chance?
I do not. I mean, I have a YouTube, profile, but I don't think I have anything up on it.
Okay. We're going to be ending the show here in just a few moments, but I want you to, after the show ends, I want you to hang around. I want to speak to you after the live has stopped, is all I'm saying. You don't have to do nothing, just sit here like, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a compliment.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Wow. Mainly, I just want to get you back on the show again.
Absolutely. I'm always game.
Connect.
I think we should have Gio in for a total herbalist show.
I'm game. Definitely.
Yeah. That would be a fantastic topic. Talk
I'm
about
the crazy plant guy of Northeast Pennsylvania. Of course I'm game.
Right. Hallelujah. That's awesome.
Amen.
Well, guys, we are we're approaching 2 hours now live, so we are going to go ahead and head out towards the end of the show here. But I want y'all guys to know that any of you can come up here and talk, and you don't have to be this great speaker or someone with great knowledge about something specific or random stuff. You just have to just simply want to join the conversation. Maybe you have more questions than you have answers. That's okay too. We need the questions in order to be able to find the answers. So I guess what I'm saying is please consider joining the show next time because we are going to be signing off here in a moment. But please join the show next time. And let's continue to build our conversation community because it's going pretty well once I decided to finally do this because it's a little risky. As you can tell by the person who showed up earlier that's really having some hard times in their life, obviously, and they're in a bad place. And I pray that they be released from the demons and the problems that they're having in their life and that whatever it is that's torturing them and causing them to hate other people be released out of their life. Because when people come out and try to attack with words or do these kind of things, it's not about us. It's about them. They're in that place, and it's normally a bad place, and they're probably
it's like when a dog tries to attack you just because it's injured, even though you're trying to help it.
Yeah.
Pain response of the soul, and amen to that.
Thank you, Subversive. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of y'all guys that are here, whether you're new or on a regular basis. If I could ask y'all guys right now, if you've liked this show, to please, one, hit the like button, no matter what platform you're on. Also, hit share, and how about be brave and share it with people you wouldn't normally share with? What's the worst thing that can happen? They go, who are you? What's the worst thing? The point is this kind of information, these kind of conversations need to get out to as many people as possible, and we need to grow the show. Just being blunt and honest, we've got to grow the show, And the easiest way it's going to happen is through y'all guys that are listening and watching, because there's only so much that I can do. I'm live on 8 platforms. I am running 3 shows a week, getting ready to go to 5 or 6 shows. It looks like now 6 shows a week, and going to be going to 7 or 8 as soon as we find a couple of more guest hosts that'll be running their own show here. So if you're out there and you've got things that you would like to talk about, share, that are about truth, spirituality, supernatural, you can get a hold of me and express you have some interest. And it's not saying you have to do it, but you can express some interest. And the way you can get a hold of me, one way is just simply send a text to that phone number and say, I would like to talk about it. And yeah, there's benefits to me with additional guest hosts being involved with the show, but there's also will be benefits to you. And I can go through and explain all that. But like, one, you have your own channel that you control, that you're broadcasting to, in addition to the other Supernatural Show platforms. Okay. So you can broadcast, build your own audience, build your own platform. And you say, well, why do I want to help you? Well, one, it's the right thing to do. But 2, I already have the audience, not like I have 1 million subscribers, but I have, between all the platforms, there's at least 250,000. And so I have the subscribers, I have the viewers, and you get to reach into that pool and be able to pull out a handful, and they go straight to your channel because they're going to relate to you. They're going to like you, and they're going to want to go to your channel and make sure they see all your videos, not just the Supernatural Show lives that you do a day a week, at least in the beginning, 1 or 2 days a week. And so, yeah, we are looking for some hosts that would like to build their own thing, but be assisted through the fact that we already have a large audience. So you're not making videos and you only got 1 person watching or 10 people watching. You can immediately jump to, hundreds. Okay. And that's a big help. Plus, there are other benefits that I'll discuss with you that will benefit you in not just monetarily, but in other ways. So, and you will benefit this platform as well in helping it grow and building a more consistent presentation on an ongoing basis so that we can get the truth, the word out there for everybody to hear. And I just feel that that's the direction we need to go. I chose to go with this step with the open panel, and it honestly has exceeded greatly with guests like Geo here and the other guests we've had on the other shows that we've done. You've all been fantastic, and I greatly appreciate your participation. I thank you, Roxy, for being here. I thank Miss Kim in the background here that is working and helping us as well in numerous ways.
Kim is our superhero back there.
Yeah, she's works in the background.
We too busy talking. She's monitoring those comments like a champ back there.
Yeah, she handles it. And there's a lot of other things she does to help the show as well. And then when you have fantastic guests like Geo here, it's amazing. And I thank you, Geo.
And pleasure and honor. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. And again, hang on. Just sit there, and the extra will go through, and then you won't be on stage. It'll pull all of us off stage automatically, but I'm going to pull you back on the stage so we can have a little after the show conversation, okay?
Right on.
All right, guys, I love you, and I hope you gained something from today. Get on that share button. Start pushing those buttons. And, I love you, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Matter of fact, we'll be live again. Again, we're running Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're getting ready to go 5 days a week because Shannon is going to be running a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then Roxy is going to be starting her own show, and she hasn't told me what day or how many days. But what we're looking for right now is at least 1 a week. And so you'll be getting more content, more truth, more everything supernatural. So with that being said, we'll see you again real soon here on the Supernatural Show.
Be well.
Yep. See you later, guys.